Ladies and gentlemen, a very good afternoon and a warm welcome. May I request you all to please kindly take your seats. I request for the doors to be closed. Before we begin, ladies and gentlemen, at the outset, may I request you all to please do remember to either switch off your cell phones or put your cell phones on silent mode. A lot of our speakers are joining through WebEx. We will request them all, those who are joining us through WebEx, to please do remember to keep your microphone on mute at all times if you are not speaking. Dignitaries on the dais, distinguished invitees, members of the press, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the press briefing for the Maritime India Summit 2021. Ladies and gentlemen, this summit will be inaugurated by the Honorable Prime Minister of India, Shri Narendra Modi. This is a 3-day global event which is being organized by Ministry of Ports, Shipping and Waterways, Government of India, which will comprise of a business session, exhibition, ministerial session, CEO forum, and B2B and B2G meetings. FICCI is the industry partner and EY is the knowledge partner for the summit. After the curtain raiser by the Honorable Minister, Shri Mansukh Mandavia, on the 11th of February 2021, today, senior officials are here to brief on the detailed engagements that will be undertaken during the course of the event. This 3-day summit brings together dignitaries, business communities across the globe to create a common platform to discuss, deliberate on the possible collaboration in the maritime sector. This afternoon, to begin the proceedings, it gives me great pleasure to invite Mr. B. Narayanan, Additional Director General, Press Information Bureau, to kindly share with us the introduction about the press briefing and an overview of the sessions. It's over to you, sir.
Good afternoon, friends. I welcome you all to this curtain raiser press briefing on the Maritime India Summit 2021, which is going to be inaugurated by the Honorable Prime Minister on 2nd March. For the briefing, we have on the dais Secretary, Ports, Shipping and Waterways, Dr. Sanjeev Ranjan, DG Shipping, Shri Amitabh Kumar, Additional Secretary, Shri Sanjay Bandopadhyay, and Chairman JNPT, Shri Sanjay Sethi. My warm welcome to all the dignitaries to National Media Center. First, there will be opening remarks by Secretary, followed by brief remarks of other dignitaries on each of the sessions at the upcoming summit. This will be done through the VC. Finally, we'll have a question and answer session. So, friends, a gentle request to again put your mobiles on silent. Now I request Secretary to please address us. Thank you, sir.
Welcome all my dear friends from the press for the press briefing today on the Maritime India Summit 2021, which is being organized by the Ministry of Ports, Shipping and Waterways from the 2nd to the 4th March 2021 to promote both domestic and international investment in the Indian ports and the maritime sector. In view of the COVID pandemic, the summit would be held virtually. While the face-to-face interactions may not be possible, but by holding it virtually, the level of participation we expect to be much higher. As you're aware, in the last 5-6 years, the ministry has undertaken a number of reform initiatives. The capacity of the major ports has gone up from 800 million metric tons in 2014 to more than 1,500 million metric tons in 2020. We have improved on the ease of doing business ranking from 134 to 163, on trading across border ranking from 132 to 64. But there's a lot of work still to be done. And recently we had the Major Port Authorities Act, which was passed by the Parliament. The ministry has also prepared the Maritime India Vision 2030, which outlines a number of priorities for the sector, which includes developing world-class port infrastructure, develop smart ports to further improve the ease of doing business, reduce logistic cost by enabling multimodal shift, promote Atmanirbhar Bharat in the areas of shipbuilding, ship repair, and recycling, develop ocean, coastal, and island cruise, promote movement of cargo on the inland waterways by promoting multimodal shift, develop urban transport system on the waterways. 50 or more initiatives have been identified for making the operations of the port smart and to make them paperless and online. In addition to these, in the recent budget announcement, a number of important announcements were made for the port, shipping, and waterways sector. One of the major ones being the scheme to promote flagging of Indian ships, for which a provision of 1,624 crores has been made over the next 5 years. Now, all these initiatives open up a whole lot of new investment opportunities for my friends in the industry. And with a view to bring in those investments, the ministry has prepared a compendium of 400 investable projects valued at more than 2 lakh crores. This compendium we would be releasing, and with the compendium of investable projects which have been identified, we would have 10 sessions on the first 2 days, that's on the 2nd and the 3rd of March, followed by 2 more sessions on the 3rd day on Chabahar and the prospect that it offers. The thematic sessions which I mentioned would include developing world-class ports, manpower development for the maritime sector, steps to promote ease of doing business, building port cities and maritime clusters to promote industrialization on the ports, bulk cargo transportation with focus on liquid cargo, shipbuilding, ship repair, ship recycling, to bring about green and sustainable maritime sector, water transport to promote cargo and passenger movement, including seaplane tourism, and opportunities on maritime financing and insurance. Now, the summit has invoked a lot of interest. We have more than 44 global CEOs who are going to join in the CEOs Forum, which will be part of the summit. We have 76 speakers for the sessions that we have planned, and the brochure which has been shared with all of you gives you all the details of the sessions and the speakers who would be participating in the summit. All the maritime states and UTs have confirmed participation and would be hosting their own sessions with respect to the opportunities that these states have to offer. Our organizations have pursued the agenda of promoting investment in the sector the last month or so with the prospective investors, and they've been able to work out more than 317 MOUs with the prospective partners, which we hope in the summit would take further shape and lead to investments that we plan. All these would help us reduce the logistic cost, become globally competitive, and I therefore urge upon my friends from the industry and all these stakeholders in the maritime sector to kindly come forward and participate in the summit in a big way. The new opportunities which are now available will help us further reduce the logistic cost, will make our business, our industry globally competitive, and we should be able to achieve the vision of Atmanirbhar Bharat. Along with me, I have my colleagues present on the dais. Mr. Sanjay Sethi, Chairman, Jawaharlal Port Trust, would be giving you an idea of the session that he is the convener for. Similarly, Mr. Amitabh Kumar, DG Shipping, would be giving us an idea of the sessions which he's convening on maritime manpower and shipping. Mr. Sanjay Bandyopadhyay, our Additional Secretary, would be giving us further insights about the sessions that we have on the third day on Chabahar. In addition, all the conveners for the various sessions that we have are linked with us virtually online and would be giving you an idea of what they have planned in their respective sessions. I thank you very much, and I look forward for a very active engagement in the days to come and during the summit from the press and from all the stakeholders to realize what we plan to achieve from the summit. Thank you very much.
A very good afternoon to you all. I have the responsibility for being the convener for the first plenary session, which will just follow the inaugural session by the Honorable Prime Minister. This session is developing world-class ports, and I'll try and give you a flavor of what is really going to happen in this session for the next 3 to 4 minutes. Globally, the ports, the terminals are now expected to be faster, more streamlined, environment friendly. And what's also happening across the world is that the vessel size is increasing. The shipping market is getting consolidated. There is a regional competition between or amongst ports. The supply chains are also getting reworked. And there is definitely an improvement in port productivity. So against this backdrop, how do we go further from here? How do we develop world-class ports? That is the main topic of discussion in this session. This will be started by Dr. Sanjeev Ranjan himself, the Secretary Ports, Shipping and Waterways. He will give an overall view of this session. After that, we have 3 basic verticals in this session. The first part is developing mega ports with world-class infrastructure. When we talk about mega ports, we are discussing deep draft, we are discussing effective hinterland connectivity, we are also discussing land availability for the kind of industrial ecosystem that we want to have. So on this, in India, last February, the cabinet took a decision to have a port called Vadhavan, which is in Maharashtra, which is going to be a mega port. But apart from that, we are looking at least 2 to 3 more ports which can become mega ports. So on this vertical, we will have 2 speakers. Mr. Wan Chi Fung, who's the regional CEO of Port of Singapore Authority, who will discuss mega ports rationale, the opportunities and the challenges. He will also be joined by Mr. Rizwan Suma and MD for DP World, that's Dubai Port World, because Singapore and Dubai are the 2 mega ports apart from the Chinese ports who figure in the top 10. So they will be discussing and sharing the experiences, the challenges of doing mega ports. The second vertical we are going to talk about is about improving the performance of mostly existing ports to world-class levels. This again in turn means that we need to have smart ports which essentially includes digitization. Of course, there is a component of skills development, infrastructure development, and appropriate technologies for marine operations, for terminal operations, stakeholders operations, customer experience are expected to be discussed during this. For this, we have, again, 3 speakers for this part. The first one, Mr. Tanaka Toshimitsu, is the Director General of Osaka Ports and Harbors. He will talk about improving the performance of existing ports in the context of increasing competition. And apart from that, On the technology side, we have Mr. Samir Garde, who's the regional president of Cisco, who will discuss smart ports and the use of next-gen technology, which includes artificial intelligence and 5G transformation, etc. He will also be joined by Mr. Dhruv Kotak, who's the MD of JM Bakshi Group. He will discuss the topic from port community system to national logistics portal. This together will mean that we will have a big focus on the smart port part, since some of the other components of this are being discussed separately, like the skills development, that will not be a part of this. But the last vertical is about evolving models for port development, which includes the PPP and the landlord model. On this again, we have two prominent international speakers. One is Mr. Christoph Waterscoot, who's the MD of the Port of Antwerp. The other one is Mr. Eugene D. Siroha. He's the Director of Port of Los Angeles. So we have a varied mix of speakers from all over the world, from LA to Osaka to Singapore, Dubai. While COVID pandemic has impacted maritime trade and disrupted global supply chains, this has also presented an opportunity. There is definitely an accelerated digitization and also reworking of some of the trade relationships. So this is a unique opportunity to come together and coordinate a strategic response plan. In a way, we are going to discuss in this session, which becomes important, the future of ports. The future of ports, not just for India, but regionally as well as globally. And I promise that the session is going to be very exciting and very meaningful. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Sethi. Ladies and gentlemen, we have in our midst Mr. Amitabh Kumar, Director General Shipping, Ministry of Ports, Shipping and Waterways, Government of India. May I request him now to kindly share with us a session overview.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'll be convening two sessions. First is on manpower development, skilling in maritime sector and seafarers. And the second relates to shipping, latest trends, future post-pandemic. Both are breakout sessions, and they would run parallelly with the plenary session. As you know, India is a major seafaring nation and has seen a year-on-year growth of nearly 17% since 2014 in the number of seafarers employed actively. The total number of seafarers has increased from 116,000 in 2014 to 234,000 in 2019. Nearly 85% of our seafarers work on foreign flag vessels. Indian seafarers are not only increasing in numbers, but are also being recognized worldwide for their quality and discipline. They are the preferred nationality for manning specialized vessels like oil and chemical and gas tankers. In the last few years, the government has taken a lot of initiatives to standardize maritime training and improve its quality, including a revision of course curriculum, increasing skill-based training, encouraging value-added courses, e-learning, online exit exams, facial biometric attendance system, and so on and so forth. These have resulted in increase in jobs for Indian seafarers. As Secretary Saab announced, we have developed our Maritime India Vision 2021, wherein we realize that while there is a growth of Indian seafarers, we should be prepared to train our seafarers for future ships, which see a lot of automation and other green technology. We also feel that there is an opportunity for India to specialize in other maritime sectors like ship management, maritime law, finance, insurance, ocean governance, etc. There is a definite need for interdisciplinary research in maritime affairs, encompassing information technology, chemical, naval architecture, mechanical, ocean technology, etc. And at the lower end of the spectrum, there is a requirement for skill development in all maritime value chain, be it ports or dredging or multimodal transportation, and so on. The scheme of this session is based on this vision of ours. We have our first speaker, who's Miss Cleopatra Dombia Henry. She is president of World Maritime University at Sweden, and she would be speaking on emerging maritime trends and preparing maritime professionals for tomorrow, and what would be its learnings for India. We have our Vice Chancellor of Indian Maritime University, which is our specialized university for all courses relating to maritime sector, speak on the gaps in India maritime education, training, and research, and the role of Indian Maritime University to fill up those gaps. In knowledge side, Norway has developed its maritime clusters to bring together the industry, the academia, and the researchers to work on multidisciplinary research projects. We would have our third speaker, Mr. Per Erik Dalen. He is Chief Executive Officer of Maritime Cluster Norway, Blue Maritime Cluster Norway. He would speak on exploring the great potential of blue economy and the role of knowledge cluster in harnessing it, and where would India's knowledge cluster focus. We also have a very eminent speaker from Singapore. His name is Mr. Thomas Ling. He is the Chief Technology Officer of Maritime and Port Authority Singapore. He would speak on the concept of maritime living labs and its potential for the rest of the world, including India. We have Chairman and Managing Director of Cochin Shipyard, who would speak on sustainable deep sea fishing, standardization of deep sea vessels, design, and skilled manpower requirement. And we have the head of Logistics Sector Skill Council, which is a center for excellence in logistics, Captain T.S. Ramanujam, who would be speaking on skilling manpower in port and maritime logistics to make it globally competitive. Since it is an investment summit, we have also received a lot of requests for signing of MOUs. We have received requests for signing of MOUs for engagement of Indian seafarers. The total number of jobs being offered in these MOUs is 55,760, which would bring economic benefit of 10,700 odd crores to the Indian seafarers. We have also received MOUs for setting up of maritime training institutes. There are 17 such MOU requests for 300 crores, and we have received requests for joining of knowledge clusters and for sponsorships for Indian seafarers for higher studies. The next breakout session relates to shipping, the latest trend, future and post-pandemic. As you all know, India has an extensive coastline of 7,500 kilometers and has 12 major ports and more than 200 minor ports. Nearly 90% of our EXIM trade by volume and 65 to 70% by value is carried on ships. The Indian shipping tonnage has seen a slow but steady increase. We now have 1,468 ships registered with us, with combined gross tonnage of more than 13 million gross ton, and we rank 16th in the world. The international shipping is going through a massive churning because of a variety of reasons. COVID-19, as Mr. Sanjay Sethi explained, has impacted various segments of shipping in different manner. While India has managed to keep the functioning of ports and shipping relatively unaffected, the functioning of ports at other maritime nations are not completely unaffected. As a result, cruise segment has suffered badly. Schedules for container ships has got impacted due to delays in berthing, and tanker market is fluctuating, but that is largely because of demand and supply. The pattern of export and import has changed, which is impacting logistic chain also. At the same time, the international community is also focused on decarbonization, and IMO has set up a very stiff target of reduction of GHG emission by 50% up to 2030 and 90% by 2050 from the base year of 2008. The shipping industry is also moving fast in induction of digital technology, both in terms of design and operation. Already, you have heard of 2 fully autonomous vessels being constructed at Cochin Shipyard for a Norwegian firm. Similarly, orders have been received for battery-operated taxis, ferries, passenger boats, etc. The session on latest trend and a future post-pandemic in the shipping sector has been designed to cover all these aspects. We have our first speaker, Mr. Richard Mead. He is managing editor of Lloyd's List London. He will be speaking on latest trends in global shipping market and country perspectives, particularly on the aspects of decarbonization and digitization. The topic will be further addressed by Ms. Anne H. Stevenson. She is Director General and Chief Executive Officer, Danish Shipping, Denmark. She will also speak of the benefits of cooperation and collaboration in shipping sector. The session will discuss the topic of increased use of automation and digital technology and what India needs to do. And we have Dr. Michael Lind. He is Associate Professor, Senior Strategic Research Advisor, Safety and Transport Department of Rice Research Institute of Sweden. This will be followed by a presentation from Mr. Stephen Gordon, Managing Director of Clarkson Research Services Limited, United Kingdom, who would speak on building effective response strategies and plans for futures and opportunities for new markets or strategies. Shipping, as you know, also requires a lot of safety and security measures. We have, in the past few years, seeing increase in the spate of piracy, especially of the Gulf of Guinea. We have Mr. Cyrus Modi. He is Deputy Director of International Chamber of Shipping, based out of United Kingdom, who would speak on the risk of piracy. And we will have the final speaker, who is Vice Admiral G. Ashok Kumar. He is Vice Chief of Naval Staff of Indian Navy, who would speak on security and domain awareness. So these are the main panelists of this panel. In MOU terms, we have received a lot of requests. We have received requests for 14 MOUs of more than 8,000 crores for shipping, for ship acquisition, for new ship construction, for green shipping, and for research projects in this area. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for sharing the session overview. Ladies and gentlemen, we have in our midst Mr. Sanjay Bandyopadhyay, Additional Secretary, Ministry of Ports, Shipping and Waterways, Government of India. I now request him to kindly share with us details on Chabahar Day.
Respected members on the dais, friends from media, ladies and gentlemen. The third day is mostly dedicated to Chabahar, which is an important investment of India for linking to Afghanistan. And as all of you know that this is our main link for cargo transportation EXIM between India and Afghanistan. Chabahar has been a very ambitious project of the country, and after the investment in infrastructure, that is the ports, the equipment and operation, till 31st January 21, about 123 vessels were berthed at our port, and which have handled nearly 14,000 TEUs of containers and 18 lakh tons of bulk cargo. We have sent consignments of wheat and other things like pesticides and those required by Afghanistan. Recently, we have sent 2 mobile harbor cranes, Italgru cranes, to the Chabahar port. And in March, 2 more cranes will be sent there. They are ready to be loaded in the ship near Venice, and 2 more will follow after 2 months. So Chabahar is an important project of our country. In this session, this Chabahar discussion is divided into 3 sessions, in which we have the Minister of Transport for Afghanistan, we have the Minister of Territorial Administration and Infrastructure of Armenia. We have the Minister Roads and Urban Development of Iran. We have the Deputy Minister of Industry and Trade of Russia, the Deputy Minister of Transport of Uzbekistan. So as you know that in addition to our direct connectivity with Afghanistan, we have signed India signed a trilateral agreement of cooperation and transport between India, Iran and Afghanistan. Similarly, India is also signatory to the International North-South Transport Corridor, INSTC, which has 13 member countries. In fact, India is the founder member. So all those interests and the members present, they will highlight their interest in the Chabahar port connectivity to Afghanistan and the byproduct of this connectivity to the International North-South Corridor, transport corridor. We will deliberate more on what infrastructure is coming in this port. So the second session will be development of port infrastructure. In how is the accelerated project taking place, how will be using the free trade zone there, what are the industries which can come in, how multimodal infrastructure can be brought in, and how our trade will increase with Afghanistan. So in the second session, we have many speakers. We have the Mohammad Rastad, who is the Deputy Minister of Roads and Urban Development and Managing Director of the Ports and Maritime Organization, Government of Iran. We have Mr. Koshri, who is the Deputy Managing Director of Ports and Economic Affairs of Iran. We will have Mr. Agei, Director General of Sistan Baluchistan Ports Authority. Mr. Khoshro Sarai is the DG of the PMO of Iran. PMO means Port and Maritime Organization. Then we will have the representative, Mr. Chaudhary, from Chairman and Managing Director of IRCON. IRCON is consulting and helping in development of the railway line from the Chabahar port. We have Mr. Atul Kumar Goyal, who is the Managing Director and CEO of UCO Bank. UCO Bank is one of the designated bank for Iran, helping us in the trade. We have the third session in which the main topic will be the boosting business through trade promotion and regional connectivity. So people will deliberate on the solutions for enhancing the connectivity, improving the trade. The INSTC, that the International North-South Corridor, it reduces the distance for trading, the travel from India south to north up to St. Petersburg by 40%. And the cost by 30%. But lot has to be done in intermodal connectivity, in the last and first mile connectivity. So people will deliberate on this, and the speakers will be Mr. Nazim Kabiri, who is the Deputy Minister of Policy, Ministry of Finance, Afghanistan. Mr. Rasooli is the Vice Minister for Roads and Urban Development, Chairman of Board and President of Railways of the Islamic Republic of Iran. We will have Mr. Moradin, who is the DG of Afghanistan Institute of Strategic Studies, Mr. G. Ravi Kumar, the Executive Director of Container Corporation of India, which has main logistic partner for this transport. Mr. Shankar Shinde is the Chairman elected of the Federation of Freight Forwarders Association of India, and Mr. Arora from the GM Bakshi Group. Then there will be also a representative from the government of Russia, who will also try to throw light on the international north-south corridor. So I hope with this, for this day, we will be able to come out with some outcomes, tangible outcomes, plans for future cooperation between so many countries, and leverage our investment in the Chabhar port for our country and the whole world. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Bandyopadhyay. Ladies and gentlemen, joining us now via video conferencing is Mr. T.K. Ramachandran, Chairman VO Chidambarana Port Trust, and he will share with us an overview on ease of doing business, coastal shipping, hinterland connectivity, and multimodal logistics. May I request you, sir, to kindly observe the timeline. It's over to you, Mr. T.K. Ramachandran.
Thank you very much. Secretary, Port Shipping and Waterways, other dignitaries on the dais, and my friends from the media. This is to generally give you a very short overview of the session, plenary session 3, which talks of ease of doing business, coastal shipping, hinterland connectivity, and multimodal logistics. This is a very interesting session in the context of what has already been spoken about, and the ease of doing business is the first vertical in this session, in which we are talking about how to make ports and the entire logistics sector more friendly towards its customers and all the stakeholders. So we have some very important speakers speaking in this in all the sessions. We have divided basically the sessions into 2-3 aspects which will be covered by respective experts. One is the international context, which will be given by speakers from across the world, and then the other is the Indian perspective, where we have the government perspective from the one side and the industry and trade perspective from the other side. And so going on to the respective sessions, the first is on the ease of doing business, which will not only talk about the various steps taken by the stakeholders who will be participating. This will include a story of how the international ports have gone about the ease of doing business aspects of their port. And so we will be talking about automation, about digitalization, about how infrastructure has been improved, connectivity, introduction of DPD and DPE, and also how systems and processes, SOPs, have been introduced to improve the ease of doing business. So here we have two important speakers. One is Mr. Pawan Kumar Agarwal, Special Secretary Logistics, and the other is the industry perspective, which will be given by Mr. Steve Felder, who's the Managing Director of Maersk. The second topic which we will be covering is the coastal shipping, which is, as you all know, a very important aspect of shipping, and which reduces costs. And here we have 3 speakers who will be presenting both the international and the national context. And we have Mr. Emily Hoogsteden from the Port of Rotterdam Authority, who will be speaking of coastal shipping in the European context. Then we have Captain Rakesh Singh, who is the Secretary of the Indian Coastal Conference Shipping Association, who will be talking about challenges and opportunities for coastal shipping in India. And then we have Mr. Rahul Modi, who talks of coastal container trade and development in India. The third session is on hinterland connectivity and multimodal hubs. And as you are aware, we have to connect between several modes of transport, rail, road, coastal, inland waterways, and of course pipelines. So all of them have to come together to deliver logistics efficiencies. And here we have again the international context being given to us by the Port of Antwerp. We have Mr. Willem Dillen from the International Development Manager from the Port of Antwerp, who will be talking of multimodal logistics and international connectivity, hinterland connectivity, a case study from the Port of Antwerp. We then have another international perspective with an academic flavor, and that will be given to us by Professor Thomas Schipkother from Duisburger Hessen AG, Germany. And then we have the third speaker in this vertical, which will be given to us by Mr. K. Sanjay Murthy, who is the Managing Director of the National Industrial Corridor Development Corporation, and he will speak about the role of industrial corridor in India. So we have a very interesting session comprising 8 speakers spread over about 1.5 hours. We welcome you all to join in and to take full advantage of this session. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Ramachandran. Ladies and gentlemen, now joining us is Mr. Madhu S. Nair, Chairman and Managing Director, Cochin Shipyard Limited, who will be sharing with us a session overview on ship building, ship repair, and ship recycling.
Friends, this is Madhu Nair, CMD of Cochin Shipyard. And I'll be the convener for the plenary session number 2, which is on ship building, ship repair, and ship recycling. We are having some very eminent personalities coming in here in this session. We're having a presentation on the shipbuilding side from 3 of the leading European organizations. A Fincantieri of Italy is being represented at very senior levels. And Fincantieri, as you know, is the world's leading cruise vessel builder. This is among the largest naval builder and also very specialized vessel builder. And Fincantieri has been active in India for long. Fincantieri is coming in. Damen Shipyards Limited. Damen is a group based out of the Netherlands with 40 shipyards world over. And Damen coming in on this forum is very interesting, especially in line that today we are talking about inland waterways, significant work happening on the Ganga, Brahmaputra, and various other waterways. And Damen is among the world leaders in inland waterways vessels. We are having inputs coming in from IHC, senior participation from IHC of Netherlands. IHC are the world's leading dredger builders. Just recently, 2 days back, IHC has signed an agreement to build vessels in India. Now, what is very interesting is Fincantieri, Damen, IHC coming in on the forum. This is in the background of Make in India and Atmanirbhar Bharat initiatives, where the country has very clearly said that henceforth, from a manufacturing point of view, while we are open to the best technologies in the world and partnerships, please come to India, let's do this together in India, and let's do manufacturing in India. It's very interesting that these 3 giants are actually coming on this forum. We're having equal participation from the info side. Larsen & Toubro Shipbuilding is being represented at the CU level, so Commodore Ashok Ketan will be there. Mazagon Dock Shipbuilders, the largest defense shipbuilder in India. So Admiral Narayan Prasad.
Can somebody look into the audio? It's fading in and fading out. There's an echo also.
And Mr. Arun Sharma, who is the Executive Chairman of Indian Register Shipping, would be in the forum. We are also talking about ship recycling, and ship recycling, as you may be aware, this is big, and India are the global leaders here, especially out of the Alam Satya cluster in Gujarat. And as you're aware, like India has recently ratified the Hong Kong Convention, which sets standards for the ship recycling industry. We're having a very high level coming in. We're having Dr. Anil Singh, who is the President and Chief Executive Officer of GMS. And GMS is the world's largest cash buyer of ships. It's a matter of pride for all Indians that Dr. Anil Singh, Anil Sharma is coming in on board here. And Mrs. Avantika Singh from the Gujarat Maritime Board. She is the Vice Chairman and the CEO of the Gujarat Maritime Board, who are setting up the ecosystem in Gujarat. So Mrs. Avantika Singh would bring in the flavor of what are the government initiatives and what the states are doing in this regard. And we also have Mr. Harish Parma, who is the Secretary of the Ship Recyclers Association. Now, with all these discussions, the basic interest is to see how we talk about on the shipbuilding side, Make in India initiatives, Atmanirbhar Bharat initiatives, and as was mentioned by DG Shipping earlier, new technology, hybrid electric systems coming in the space. How do we bring this in? There's going to be a lot of MSMEs who are going to be connected here. How do we connect the MSMEs onto this space? On the ship recycling side, how do we carry out responsible and sustained ship recycling into the future, retaining India's #1 position and strengthening it further? So it's going to be some exciting discussions. I would like request everybody to be tuned in for this discussion. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Mr. Nair. Ladies and gentlemen, via video conferencing, now joining us for an overview on opportunities in maritime financing and insurance is Ms. H.K. Joshi, Chairman and Managing Director, Shipping Corporation of India. We'll request our WebEx speakers to connect only through one device, because if you connect it through multiple devices, then it is picking up an echo. So it's over to Mr. Joshi.
Good afternoon, friends from the media. As you know, that economic development of the nation and growth in the maritime sector have been empirically proven to be positively correlated. Consequently, it is pertinent that the maritime sector in India grows to meet the vision of our Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi ji of making India a 5 trillion economy by FY25. A vibrant maritime sector can flourish only on the robust foundation of financing and insurance. This is in terms of setting the context for this session, which is going to be a breakout session. And the breakout session is intended as an effective springboard to generate ideas in the backdrop of the high investment potential and immense opportunities that are offered by the Indian maritime sector, along with opportunities to develop India as a leading hub for maritime financing and reinsurance. Due to the paucity of time, I am not going to delve into each of the speakers and their subjects. However, I would like to tell you that the breakout session is going to be divided into two main subparts. We are going to be talking about opportunities in maritime financing, where we've got 5 speakers. We've got a mix of both international speakers as well as leading bank senior chairmen coming in from the Indian side. And they are going to be talking about a whole gamut of issues, right from key trends and developments in maritime banking and financial services in Indian environment, covering the financing of ports, port terminals, port-based industries. We shall also be covering the financing of coastal, inland waterways and allied infrastructure. And we are hopeful of providing you innovative solutions for funding and developing vessel financing mechanism. And of course, the session cannot end until and unless we tell you about the opportunities and the challenges for both domestic and international financiers. With this, we would conclude the first part of the session, and the second would be a different discussion pattern. We will be having a panel discussion on molding India as a maritime reinsurance hub, where the entire panel discussion is going to be moderated by a CMD of a leading Indian insurance company. And we are going to be having panelists, both mix of Indian and foreign participation. And to top it up, the best part would be that the concluding remarks on molding India as a maritime reinsurance hub would be given by none other than the regulator himself, Dr. Subhash Chandra Kuntia, the insurance regulator and the development authority. I consider and I'm very confident that this integrated session on maritime financing and molding India as a maritime reinsurance hub is going to be a very vibrant and a very interesting session. I am confident that this is going to set the avenues and open the opportunities for maritime financing and reinsurance, making it a success story for the Indian maritime sector. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am, for joining us. Ladies and gentlemen, we now have a session overview on bulk cargo transportation, focus on liquid cargo. And joining us for this session overview is Mr. Sunil Paliwal, Chairman, Kamarajar Port Limited.
Good afternoon, friends. It is my pleasure and privilege to introduce you to the breakout session 4 on bulk cargo transportation with focus on liquid cargo, which is being organized on the second day of the summit, that is on 3rd March from 12:30 hours to 1400 hours. This session, I am with the two more conveners. I am one of the conveners, and the two other conveners are Dr. Beena, who is the chairperson of Cochin Port Trust, and Mr. Sunil Kumar, who is the Joint Secretary Refineries in the Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas. This session is very important, especially in context of India, because as you may be aware, India is among the top 3 energy consumers in the world. It is among the top 3 crude and petroleum product importers in the world. And with our goal of becoming $5 trillion economy by 2024, we are likely to come to number 2 position. And in coal also, we are among the top 2 importers in the world. And it is anticipated that by 2040, the entire consumption of crude in the world, whatever growth is going to be there, in that 40% is going to come from India. So from this point of view, this session is very important. And important changes are happening in the world. The consumption centers are changing, production centers are changing. The developing countries are going to become the major consumption centers, and some of the new production centers are going to emerge in liquid cargo. As we know that, Arctic is becoming warmer, and 25% of the untapped reserves in crude are lying in Arctic. So we are also going to see some new production centers of crude. So that's why in this session, we are trying to cover these various aspects. We have 5 eminent speakers, both from international community and from national community, who are the domain experts. And the topics that we are covering are the first topic on emerging global trends in bulk liquid cargo is being taken by Dr. Catherine Clay, who is the president of International Liquids Terminal Association. Then we are joined by Mr. Rajesh Nigam, who is the executive director, supply and distribution, Indian Oil Corporation, and he'll be talking about status of bulk cargo transportation in India, key trends and infrastructural developments. Then we have Opportunity India, expansion and upgradation of bulk cargo capacity, which will be taken by Mr. Jacob Sorensen, who is the Managing Director, APM Terminal, Pipavav. In movement and handling of bulk liquid cargo, the environmental factors are very important. As we know, Indian Coast Guard is a designated authority for handling the environmental factors. And hence, Mr. Rajesh Makwana, who is the Deputy Inspector General of Indian Coast Guard, will be talking about addressing challenges associated with handling bulk cargo with focus on environmental concerns. And a lot of technology changes are taking place. And on that, Mr. Abhijit Gusain, who is the Senior Sales Manager of Marine Solutions, Emerson Dubai, and he will talk to us about role of technology, equipment, and digital operations. So through you, friends, I invite international participants, national participants to be a part of the growth story of India. Thank you. Thanks for this opportunity.
Paliwal. Ladies and gentlemen, to share with us a session overview on port-led industrialization, building port cities and maritime clusters is Mr. P. Ravindran, Chairman, Chennai Port.
Good afternoon. I am present here as the moderator of the plenary session 5 on port-led industrialization, building port cities and maritime cluster of this summit. As envisaged, Maritime in 21 has built a strong momentum for domestic and international investment in maritime sector. I think there is a echo coming. National Media Center can be muted, please.
Can you please check the audio? There's an echo coming to the speaker. Thank you. You can continue, sir.
The Sagarmala program of Government of India has identified potential investment opportunities of about 300,000 crores or $40 billion in port-led industrialization projects. Indian major ports such as Paradip Port, Deen Dayal Port, Jawaharlal Nehru Port, and Vivo Chidambaram ports have highly ambitious investment plan for the next 10 years in port-led development projects. Port-led industrialization aims to facilitate extreme-oriented manufacturing by reducing cost and time variability. This will have a domino effect on demand, production, employment, and eventually on coastal prosperity. In this session on port-led industrialization, which is scheduled on 3rd March between 14 hours to 15:30 hours, we intend to seek insights on leveraging port ecosystem for industrialization and generating new employment opportunities, building port cities and maritime clusters from prominent contributors of the world maritime industry. During the deliberations, we expect to identify global best practices, learn from their experiences, and note the prime concerns from the investors. We are extremely thankful to the speakers from across the globe who have come on board. Let me indicate the speakers list for this session. We have the Director General of Port Authority of Thailand, Mr. Kamolsak Promprion, and we have CEO Busan Port Authority, Mr. Ki San Nam. We have Mr. Jose Furmo, CEO of Port of Aku from Brazil, and we have Mr. Sanjay Sharma, the Vice President, ArcelorMittal, and we have Mr. Bhushan Kumar, Joint Secretary PPP from Ministry of Ports, Shipping and Waterways, and we have Mr. Vincent D. Seidler, the Vice President of Port of Zeebrugge, Belgium, and we have the Managing Director of Port of Amsterdam from Mr. Jet John Nguyen. We have such a galaxy of speakers, and I am sure this session will be very interesting. It will provide valuable learnings and understanding to build port cities and generate employment, furthering our Atmanirbhar Bharat movement. Come and join us on the 3rd of March to gain diverse perspectives and to ask questions from our speakers on this topic. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, joining us now is Mr. Sanjay Mehta, Chairman Deen Dayal Port Trust. He'll be sharing a session overview on green and sustainable maritime sector.
Good afternoon to all. I am pleased to inform that we are hosting a session on green and sustainable maritime sector on 3rd of March between 14 hours to 15:30 hours. This session on green and sustainable maritime sector is about green initiatives, reducing pollution, renewable energy usage and generation, green shipping, etc. in the maritime sector. The session will also talk about new technology and innovations in green shipping and shipbuilding. Mr. Madhu S. Nair, CMD Cochin Shipyard Limited, is the other convener for this session, who would be coordinating the green shipping and shipbuilding related topics. We have a gamut of 7 global and national speakers from the maritime sector to talk about different topics related to green ports and green shipping. Among the national speakers, we have Mr. James Swang, Chairman and Managing Director, Solar Energy Corporation of India, who would be speaking on renewable energy, solar, wind and hybrid, all kind of energy. Then we have Mr. Akshay Kumar Singh, Chairman and Managing Director, Petronet LNG Limited, who would be talking about marine LNG ecosystem in India. The third of our national speakers is Mr. Sanjay Verma. He is Director, Decarbonization Solutions, Varsila Singapore Private Limited, and he would be speaking on the future fuels and energy systems. Among the eminent global speakers, we have Mr. Ingvar M. Mathisen. He is the Port Director, CEO, Port of Oslo. He would be speaking on Port of Oslo perspective regarding green and sustainable ports. We have Mr. Christian Sovik, Senior Vice President, Sales, Corvus Energy, who would be talking about energy storage, energy storage systems, the latest trend in that. From Japan, we have Mr. Tomoaki Ichida, General Manager, Mitsui OSK Lines Japan, and President E5 Lab Incorporation. He would give his perspective on new and green technologies in shipping. Finally, we have Ms. Camilla Egloff, the Managing Director and Senior Partner, BCG Athens. She would be talking on the key global initiatives, future visions and innovations regarding carbon neutrality, energy management and green technologies. We have also been able to sign about 7 MOUs worth about 137 crores related to green maritime sector. I would also like to add that other MOUs which have been signed for MIS 2021, like coastal shipping, inland waterways, or improvement of road red connectivity, etc., will also help in reducing the carbon footprint. In fact, no project, no initiative is devoid of the environmental green component, and we should always keep in mind the sustainable development goals while formulating and planning these projects. I would like to invite you all to attend the session and participate and interact with vigor and enthusiasm to get maximum benefits from it and also invest in the green future of India. Thanks. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, sir, for joining us. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming now Mr. Praveer Pandey, Vice Chairperson, Inland Waterways Authority of India. He'll be sharing a session overview on water transport, promoting cargo and passenger movement, seaplanes tourism.
Good afternoon. While the use of waterways grew exponentially in China, in European Union, America, and Vietnam in the last 70, 80 years, unfortunately it became a lost socio-economic opportunity in India. However, since the last 5 to 6 years, renewed efforts have been made with sustained policy metrics to rejuvenate these waterways for transportation of cargo and passengers. In India, 2 modes of transport have generally dominated the surface transport, that is road and rail. A third modal choice is being created in the form of development of inland waterways. In fact, a fourth modal choice is also taking shape in the form of operations of seaplanes on waterways. There has been a huge emphasis on multimodal connectivity to provide seamless transportation of cargo and passengers and movement from one mode of transport to the other mode of transport. In this backdrop, water transport with its various facets in the last 5 to 6 years has assumed a very critical importance. You might be aware that a sustained effort with the help of the World Bank, technical and financial assistance, the Jal Marg Vikas project is being implemented on the capacity augmentation of National Waterway 1 Ganga, developing a 1400-kilometer waterway from Varanasi to Haldia. Huge technical and economic interventions have been planned and already implemented in this project. Similarly, another major project was launched by the Honorable Prime Minister a few days back, that is Brahmaputra Mahabahu, to develop the waterways of the Northeast and connect to the mainland India through the Indo-Bangladesh Protocol route. National Waterway 2 Brahmaputra, National Waterway 16 Barat, and also a critical connectivity to Tripura through Sonamura. So a huge potential of the waterways is being utilized with sustained policy matrix. In this backdrop, the plenary session 4, in which we talk about the water transport modalities, a very carefully designed speakers forum has been prepared. I will very quickly go through the speakers who will be speaking. It will be started by Janab Muhammad Mezban Uddin Chaudhary Saab, Secretary Shipping Bangladesh, Government of Bangladesh, and he will also be, the forum will be shared by Ambassador Vikram Doraiswamy, who is the High Commissioner of India in Dhaka. So both these gentlemen, along with Mr. Arnab Bandyopadhyay, who is the team leader Transport India program from the World Bank, would be talking about a very ambitious and critical project which is taking off very soon. That is the EVAC-TG, that is the Eastern Waterways Connectivity Transport Grid Program, in which 5 countries would be involved: India, Nepal, Bangladesh, Bhutan, and Myanmar. Investments have been made. There is a natural connectivity between these countries affecting 1 billion people, and it is time that the policy initiatives, multilateral policy initiatives are taken to connect these waterways which are naturally existing. Another prominent speaker is Mr. Harry de Leer. He is knighted by the government of Netherlands, and he has been the prominent advisor to the government of China and government of Vietnam in developing the waterways in China and Vietnam. He has kindly agreed to speak. Dr. Pratap Talwar, Professor Infrastructure Transport from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, Boston, would also be sharing the dais and talking about cross-river transportation and connecting 2 banks of the river. That's his specialty. Dr. Amita Prasad, Chairperson, Inland Waterways Authority of India, would be speaking on the multimodal linkages between inland water transport, coastal, railways, and highways. We have Mr. Ajay Singh, the Managing Director and Chairman of SpiceJet, who will be talking on the operations of seaplanes on waterways in India. Mr. Raj Singh will also share the dais with him on river cruise tourism and religious pilgrimage tourist circuits. He is the CEO of Heritage Cruise and pioneer of cruise tourism on the Ganges and Brahmaputra. Another speaker is Captain Anil Kishore Singh. He is the chairman of the FICCI subcommittee on inland waterway and coastal shipping and CEO Inland Waterways, Adani Ports and SEZ. He would be talking about sustainable dredging strategies and environmental friendly strategies in the inland waterways. Mr. Sergei Lazarev is the head of commercial division from the SSR fleet from Russia. I would also like to very quickly brief the media that another sub-program under the Jal Marg Vikas project phase 2 is the Earth Ganga, which aims at massive socio-economic inclusive development of people living along the banks of river Ganga. This has been envisaged by the Honorable Prime Minister and talks about the pivotal role of Jeevan Dayini Ganga in bringing about inclusive growth apart from massive infrastructure development for these waterways. We hope that the efforts which have taken place in the last 5-6 years, this plenary session would bring out the outcomes, the preliminary outcomes, and also show the roadmap as well as the strategies to taking this agenda to greater heights. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Pandey. Ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to the end of the speakers list for this session. Please do register at the website maritimeindiasummit.in, and you can be a part of all the sessions at the summit and be a part of India's maritime success saga. We are already behind time. With the permission of the stage, may I request the floor to be declared open for any questions?
We are going into the question and answer session. Whoever wants to ask a question, kindly hold up the placard in front of you and kindly introduce yourself. I'll call you out. Anybody? Yeah, please. Number 10.
Good afternoon, sir. This is Chetan from Z Business. My question is, with respect to Cochin Shipyard, we have been hearing many MOUs have been signing for a lot of ports already. What is the update on Cochin Shipyard and what all can we expect from the summit from the same, sir?
Mr. Nair? Mr. Nair is there? Mr. Madhu Nair?
With Fincantieri Group of Italy. We have done a recent MOU with IHC of Netherlands. Now, these two are very important from a large perspective because Fincantieri is among the leaders in naval and cruise vessels in the world, and IHC is the #1 in the dredging industry. We are very, very confident that these MOUs are coming on the background of the renewed push of Make in India with the recent Atmanirbhar Bharat initiatives, because our foreign partners whom we have stayed engaged for almost last 10 to 15 years are today fairly clear that let's do manufacturing in India. As we move forward, I'm sure that we'll have more to report on this. But this is for sure, and manufacturing will come into India. This will also filter down to a lot of MSMEs and sub-vendors. I hope that gives a quick explanation of the question.
Yeah, number 19.
Sanjeev ji, namaskar. What the budget allocation for the to run the ports, is it enough good in terms of the earning, the revenue from the ongoing process, by the volume and the business volume as well as the business revenue?
As I said, the budget announcements this year for the Ministry of Port Shipping and Waterways, a number of important announcements have been made. And we have more than adequate resources to be able to meet our requirements as far as the ministry itself is concerned. In addition to that, the ports themselves have their own resources. And as I mentioned, we have now a compendium of 400 projects with a total investment of more than 2 lakh crores, where we expect private sector to be coming forward in a big way by way of PPP projects. Now, in the budget announcement itself, one initiative that was mentioned was provision of 1,624 crores of rupees for promoting flagging of Indian vessels over the next 5 years. That's a major additional allocation which has been made. In addition to promote PPP, the budget announcement included that we would be putting 7 projects worth more than 2,000 crores from our major ports for which we have already given out the timelines by when the bids would be out. So in addition to these 7, we have a pipeline created for asset monetization over the next 5 years, which now includes a list of 31 projects. In the national infrastructure pipeline, we have identified about 123 projects already, which involve investment of more than 1 lakh crores. So we expect the PPP part, the private-public partnership initiatives, which we have now embarked upon, and with the new Major Ports Authority Act, which has now been passed by the Parliament, the ports would be more of landlord ports, and more of the services which the ports offer would be done through the private sector. So with the policy reforms which have taken place, there is enough opportunity, and the summit is precisely to highlight those possibilities which have now emerged, and we expect increased investment from the private sector in the coming years in the space that we have to offer. So we expect larger capex expenditure and more of infrastructure being created, and I'm sure this summit will go a long way in achieving that objective.
Yeah, just number 79.
Good afternoon, Sanjeev sir. I'm Ashutosh from Business Today. I've got a small clarification on this issue of 400 projects that have been identified for worth over 2 lakh crore. So are all of these PPPs and their worth is 2 lakh crore? What will be the private sector's equity participation in this 2 lakh crore? And also what will be the timeline by when they will be awarded and completed, sir?
As I mentioned, with the reforms that have taken place, new opportunities have opened up, whether it is digitalization of the port operations, the berths which are presently being operated by the ports themselves being given out on PPP. Now, this is a list of 400 projects which we'll be putting on the Maritime India Invest Summit website. And the amount of 2 lakh plus crores is the total cost of these projects. Now, the projects themselves would have to be developed to ensure that there is adequate private sector interest. And in cases required, there is a scheme for viability gap funding, where we have a scheme by the Department of Economic Affairs, where in cases required, the government can step in to provide the viability gap funding. The waterfall mechanism, which is now in operation, is, while the project we would like it to be done on a PPP basis with viability gap funding, the absolutely essential projects where the private investment is not forthcoming, those we would be funding through the major ports or through budgetary support. But for an area like port, shipping and waterways, with the reforms that have taken place, the viability of the projects that we have in the self, we feel should be good enough to attract private sector investment, and with the viability gap support where required, many of these projects will take off. And with the MOUs that have been signed, as I mentioned, 370 odd MOUs have already been, are being prepared, which should give shape to these investment opportunities. And by the end of the summit, we'll be able to give you concrete figures and timelines, depending on the kind of MOUs which finally get grounded.
Yeah, number 15.
Hi, sir, I'm Siddhant from Beyond. My question is on Chahar Port and, of course, the Chahar Day project, the entire event. What are the key outcomes you expect from the event, and what is the progress on the port? You talked about the cranes being sent. In all, how many cranes are being sent this year to the port?
For Chahar, first of all, I had given the details, and in the handout also there are details of what business has been done. Presently, cranes which are available is sufficient to for the operation of that port. So these two cranes reached there on 31st of January. 2 more cranes are standing for loading at a port near Venice, which will reach by March end to this port. 2 more will reach there by June end. Then there are plans to procure more rail tire-mounted crane and gantry-mounted cranes for which bidding is going on. So this infrastructure is presently sufficient for operation of the port. As it picks up for the products cargo going to Afghanistan and beyond, we will add more infrastructure into it. There are other cranes. There are already cranes available there. There are 8 cranes. There are 4 lifters, other equipment which are required for operation in the port. They are available there. The list is in the handout which has been given.
Yeah, 104. There.
Good afternoon, sir. I'm Namita from Press Trust of India. I'd like to know how many MOUs were inked during first Maritime India Summit and how many projects are underway with the total value. Thank you.
So presently nearly 400 MOUs are signed worth 2,73,000 crores. This has been done by various ports, Director General of Shipping, Cochin Shipyard Limited. So these are viable projects which our agencies as well as the private sector felt that are viable. And there are more requests every day. The agreements are being signed. So we'll come to know at the during the sessions at the end of this summit what is the total quantum. Oh, first maritime. So first maritime sector around 63,000 was done, and nearly 16-17% investment was done as per the information available. We had asked for more information. So during this session, we will get the final outcome because this is done by the private sectors. Information comes from the private companies. So success rate will go nearly up to 25% of the investment.
Good afternoon, sir. Sanjay Agarwal from World News 24/7. My question is to Amitabh, sir. So you talked about the naval people, the chief of the staff, naval staff coming in. So they are talking about security on the maritime borders. But what about the security? We are talking about the cyber threat, which is a major, I think, hindrance to whatever we having. And so you could talk about green shipping also. So who are the major players in that, sir?
There is a separate session on green shipping that Chairman Kanda Port had explained. In our case, we have, as I mentioned in my opening statement also, digitization is one of the major developments happening in shipping, and autonomous ships would be fully digitized. There is a concern of cybersecurity. There is a deliberation going on in International Maritime Organization about the security protocol that needs to be put in place for autonomous vessels. Right now, autonomous vessels would be operating in coastal waters only, mostly within the port areas, and would go from point to point. But once these autonomous vessels become international carriers, we would need to put more security protocols in place. I had in my list of speakers listed out 2 speakers. One is from Sweden, who specializes in digitization in maritime sector. He would be speaking on all issues relating to digitization, including cybersecurity in shipping. In terms of green shipping, we have the Lloyd Register itself, which would be speaking, and Director General and CEO of Danish Shipping. As you know, the Scandinavian countries are doing a lot of work on green shipping, and all 3 countries, Norway, Sweden, and Denmark, would be speaking in one of the 2 sessions and would be covering the issues relating to green shipping and GHG reduction.
Yeah, number 4, behind the camera.
Hello, sir. My name is Dhairya Maheshwari. I'm from Sputnik News. I have a follow-up question on the Chabahar port. How are we planning, like what's the reason behind the increasing budget outlay for the Chabahar port in this year? Last year it was 45 crores, this year it's 100 crore. So is there a realization that the previous US government sanctions have hurt India's involvement in Chabahar port? Is there a realization within the Indian government?
No, you must be aware, and we have given the handout, that money has been sanctioned for the whole project, and for both the physical infrastructure as well for operations. There is no dearth of money. There are sufficient equipment, sufficient manpower there. Operations are going on. Whatever are the calls by the ships, they are being all serviced. So fund is not an issue. Whatever fund is required is invested, and it's available in budget.
Yeah, last question is Chetan, number 10.
Sorry for disturbing again. But quickly, first, it's a two-part question. First is the Secretary, Dr. Sanjeev Ranjan. Sir, with all of this going on, would you think that moving to waterways would be an efficient way for reducing logistics cost in the country, considering there's a lack of containers in the country and rising fuel prices? Is there a discussion amongst the government that the government should probably be focusing more on waterways instead of road or rail, sir? And second is to CMD Shipping Corporation of India. With the disinvestment proceedings going on, do you think that the projects that would be signed in the Maritime Summit would have any impact on disinvestment proceedings, or later when this disinvestment is completed, the projects would get hampered in any way?
Thank you very much for the question itself. I mentioned right at the beginning that the Maritime India Vision 2030 talks about the logistic cost by a multimodal shift, which essentially means shifting from road and rail, which are far more energy intensive and costlier compared to the waterways. The challenge is to have the requisite infrastructure in place for movement by the waterways, which, thanks to the initiative of the Inland Waterways Authority of India, the Jal Marg Vikas program, we have created on the NW1, that is Ganges, from Haldia all the way to Sahibganj and all the way to Banarasi. Similarly, the Mahabahu Brahmaputra program, which was launched last week, there's a whole lot of work happening on the National Waterways 2, National Waterways 16, that's the Barak River, and Waterways 2, that's the Brahmaputra, which means that the eastern sector, we also have the required infrastructure in place to have bulk movement possible. And only day for yesterday, we had the Inland Waterways signing an MOU for movement of LPG by the waterways. Now, thanks to the Ujjwala scheme, the consumption of LPG in the country, particularly in the eastern sector, where the demand is growing exponentially, the demand for movement of additional quantity of LPG is coming in. To create this movement through road or rail, LPG, which has its own hazards, taking it by these routes, the investment required is substantial. But if you do it through the waterways, the movement could be done in larger quantities, and the safety issues are also better taken care of. So as our volumes of bulk cargo movement, particularly for things like LPG and other things that we start using in larger quantities as we develop, waterways which have already been developed offer an ideal kind of opportunity for businesses, for the petroleum companies to be looking at. And therefore, the session that we have on movement of bulk cargo, as you noticed, Mr. Ramachandran, who's the convener of that, mentioned that we are having co-convener from the Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas as well. And we tried to make sure that from the waterway side, we provide the requisite infrastructure that is required, and at the same time create enough confidence in the transporters of these bulk petroleum products, LPG, etc., to take to the waterway route where these are possible. By doing it, we would be having a more efficient, safer, and an environmentally friendly way of doing it. And that is the focus of that session, and hopefully with the MOUs which have now been talked of, have been signed, they would get grounded and you would see larger volumes of such things moving through the waterways, which have already been developed. And we, of course, have a pipeline of more development happening. Absolutely. That's why I said this dialogue between the various ministries, whether it's coal, fertilizer, petroleum, we are in continuous dialogue how to move these bulk quantities from the modes which are more expensive and energy inefficient, that is road to coastal and to waterways. All our major ports today are ensuring that they have berths in place for coastal cargo movement. We would guarantee that. The Inland Waterways Authority is already working on the waterways that I mentioned. Now, with the infrastructure in place, the businesses should find it ideal kind of a vehicle to take more of these things, and the ministry is concerned, as I mentioned, petroleum, fertilizer, power, which does a lot of coal movement, even the FCI movements. We are making enough infrastructure available at our ports to facilitate more and more movement of these commodities by the coastal route and by the waterways route.
CMD SCI, Madam Joshi.
Of projects, I would like to clarify that business gets transferred seamlessly and the projects will continue to get implemented because it is going to be a transfer of business as a going concern. We don't envisage any disruption in the business which could impact any of the projects which the company currently is undertaking. As the media would be well aware that the projects are implemented by the management and not by the owners. So the change in ownership should no way be impacting the implementation of the projects. Thank you.
That brings us to the end of this question and answer session. And thank you for the briefing, sir, from all the senior officers of the ministry. There's a box lunch upstairs for all of you on the cafeteria on the 4th floor. Thank you. Thanks.
I thank you all, my friends from the press and the media, for giving us a patient hearing. I am sure we'll continue to work closely to make sure that we are able to carry the message of the summit and be able to get these projects that we are talking of grounded as quickly as possible. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you once again for joining us here today. And please don't forget to join us for lunch, which is being served at the cafeteria on the 4th floor. Thank you and have a great day.